Good morning. My name is Yadiel John Peñalope, and we're gonna talk about of my Holocaust documentary. Well, let's talk about of the Holocaust. The Holocaust was the systematic state supporting persecution and murder of 6 million European Jews by the Nazi Germans, remained in its allies and collaborators. The Holocaust was an involved process that took place through Europe between 1933 and 1945. Some key facts of the Holocaust are antisemitism was a foundation of the Holocaust. Antisemitism, the hatred of the Jews against Jews, was the basic tenet of the Nazi ideology. This pursuit was also widespread through Europe. Nazi Germany's pre- persecution of the Jews evolved and became incre- increasingly more radical between 1933 and 1945. This radical committed in the mass murder of 6 million Jews. During World War II, Nazi Germans and their allies and collaborators nearly killed nearly two out of the ever three Europe's Jews using deadly living conditions, brutal mistreats, mass shooting, and gassing, and especially designed killing centers. Here's a here's another example of the Holocaust. Well, now we're gonna talk about concentration camps. Between 1933 and 1945, Nazi Germany's it, its allies establishment more than 44,000 camps and others incarceration sites. The preparation used these sites for range of purposes, including forced labor, detention of people thought be enemies of the state, and for mass murder. Some key facts about the concentration camps are: in March 1933, the first concentration camp, Dachau, opened outside of Munich, Germany. It was used primarily for policing prisoners and was the longest running camp in operation until the liberation in April 1945. Nazis officially established more than 44,000 incar incarcerations sites during the time of the Third Reich. This estimate is based on continuing research of con contemporary sources, including the preservation of records. Not all facilities established were concentration camps. True, they are often refused to in this way. These sites vary in purpose and in types of prisoners detailed there. This is like a picture of the concentration camps inside. Let's talk about now of the Nazi propaganda. The Nazis eff the Nazis effectively used propaganda to win the support of millions of Germans in a democracy later and a discretion to facilitate persecution, war, and utility genocide. The stereotypes and image found in the Nazi propaganda were not by were not new but were already familiar to their intense audience. The Nazis were skilled propagandists who used sophisticated adversities, technicals, and most current technology of the time to spread their message. Once in power, Adolf Hitler created a Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda to shape German public and opinion and behavior. Nazi propaganda played an integral role in advancing the persecution and ultimately the destruction of the European Jews. Its insight hatred and fostered a climate of the indifference to their fate. These are the example of the Nazi propaganda. Now we're gonna talk about of the Nazi ideology. Adolf Hitler, leader of the Nazi Party, formulated and articulated the ideas that came to be known as Nazi ideology. He thought of himself as deep and profound thinker, convinced that he had found the key to understand an extraordinarily complex world. Adolf Hitler believed that person characteristics, attitudes, abilities, and behavior were determined by his or her so-called racial makeup, and Hitler viewed all groups, races, or people. He used those terms to interchangeably carry with them trails that were passed from one generation to the next. No individual could overcome the qualities of race. All humans' history can be explained in terms racial and strongly. In formulation, their ideology of race, Hitler and the Nazis drew upon ideas German socially Darwinist of the late 19th century, like social Darwinism before them. The Nazis believed the human beings could classify collective and race, with each race bearing distinct characters that had between passed on Panopticon size the first appearance of humans in prehistoric time. The, these inherited characters related not only outward appearance and physical structure, but also share internal mental life, ways of thinking, creating and organization abilities, intelligence, taste, and approximations of cultures, facial strength, and military. The Nazis also adopt the social Darwinist take of Darwinian evolution theory regarding the survival of the fittest. For the Nazi survival of the race depend upon ability to produce and multiply its accumulation of land to support and feed the expansion population and its village. The maintain the purity of the hen pool thus provide the unique racial characters which nature had equipped in forces in the struggle survival, since each race has sought to expand in size the space on the earth was finite, the struggle of survival resolved naturally in violent conquest and military confrontation as was involving constant war was part of the nature of the human condition. Well, this is an example of the preferred race after Hitler wanted. That he wanted really tall guys with blonde hair and blue eyes. Let's talk about of the major causes of World War II. Theory of Versailles, rise of Italia fascists, rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party, Great Depression. Japanese expansions, anti-communist appeasement, militarism, nationalism, USA insulation and maps. Effects of World War II policing. Superpowers armed forces. The war left European war powers extremely weakened, leaving the US and S US are the only remaining global powers. The failures of the fascist leads to a rise of communist regiment. European colonial dominating came to the end. United Nations is formed on October 24, 1945 in order to prevent future wars from ever happening again. The nation of Israel formed in 19, May 14, 1948. North Atlantic Treaty Organism is formed as a military alliance to safeguard the security and freedom of the outside members. What is antisemitism? Antisemitism is produced against of hatred of Jews. The Holocaust state supported persecution and murder of the European Jews by the Nazi Germans and its collaborators. In history, most extreme example of antisemitism, violent antisemitism and hatred did not end with the defeat of the Nazi Germany. It's important to stand up to antisemitism. It's all its form today. Another example of the antisemitism. Who were the Gestapo? The Gestapo was the Nazi Germany infamous political police force of over the course of the Nazi era. The institution of the Gestapo expanded and changed the groups targeted by the Gestapo shipment with the regime, police, and proprieties. One thing remained consistent: the Gestapo was the relatively brutal tool that enforced Nazism's most radical impulses. As Nazi Germany political police force, the Gestapo was the responsible for protecting the remain from its supposed racial and political enemies. The Gestapo used uniformed surveillances, house searches, and brutal interrogatories methods, including torture, to carry out investigations. One of the Gestapo main responsibilities was coordinating the deportation of Jews, Jews to ghettos, concentration camps, killing sites, and killing centers. This is another example of the Gestapo. Who were the SS? The SS was a real establishment of Adolf Hitler personal bodyguards unit and would later become the both of the elite guards of the Nazi Reich and Hitler's execution force prepared to carry out all security-related duties without regard for legal restrictions. From the beginning of the Nazi remained Adolf Hitler entrust the SS first and foremost with the removal and eventual murder of the political and so-called Russian enemies of the region. The SS became a Belgian state, with them a state in the Nazi Germany Stanford by the men who personified themes of the racial elite of the Nazi future. The SS was specially charged with the leadership of the night of the final solution, the murders of the European Jews. Here's another example of the bodyguard of Adolf Hitler, the SS. Let's talk about the Nuremberg laws. What were the Nuremberg laws? On September 15, 1935, the Nazi Germany announced two new laws: the Rich Scientific Law and the law for the consecration protection of German blood and German honor. These laws informally became known as the Nuremberg Laws. As re- this is because they were first announcement of the Nazi Party rally heading in the German city of Nuremberg. The Nazis announced the Nuremberg laws because they wanted to put their ideas about race into laws. They believe in the false theory that the world is divided into distinct races that are not equal, strong, and embodied. The Nazis considered Germans to be members of the superior race. This they called Aryan German race as the strongest and most valued race of all. According to the Nazis, Jews were not Aryans. They thought Jews belonged to a separate race that was inferior to all other races. The Nazis believed that the presence of Jews in Germany threatened the German people. They believed they had to, to separate Jews from other Germans to protect and strangely Germans. The Nuremberg laws were important step toward achieving this goal. The Nazi Party had always promised that if they came to power, only racial poor Germans would be allowed to the whole German citizenships. The which citizenship law may in this reality, this law defines citizen as person blood. This meant that Jews defined as separate race could not be full soil of the Germany. They had no political rights. This is another symbol of the Nuremberg laws. Now let's talk about of the Nuremberg trials. After the war, the top surviving Germans leadership were tried for the Nazi Germans crimes, including the crimes for the Holocaust. Their trials were heard before International Military Tribunal in the Nuremberg, Germany. Jews from the Allied powers, Great Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and the United States president over the hearing of the major Nazi criminals. Subsequently, the United States held 12 additional trials in the beginning of the high-level officially of the Germans, government, military, and the SS, as well the medical professionals and leading industry. The crimes charged before the Nuremberg courts were crimes against peace, war crimes against humanity, and conspiracy to commit any of the foregoing crimes. In, in all 199 defense were tried the Nuremberg and 161 were committed and 33 were sentenced to death, including 12 of those tried be died. The Holocaust crimes were included in a few of the trials, but were the major focus of the U.S. trial of the Einstein grouping leaders. The defendants generally accused that the crimes they were accused of the occurred, but they find that they were responsible as they were following orders from the higher authority. The Nazis' highest authority, the person most valuable for the Holocaust, was missing at the trial. Adolf Hitler had committed suicide in the final days of the war, as had survival of his closest eyewitnesses. Many more criminals were never tried for few Germans who lived abroad, including hundreds who came to the United States. Here is another example of the Nuremberg trials. Who were the SA? The SA was a primarily military organization associated with the Nazi Party. The SA was integrated the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party violently and conforming party norms and attempting to influence elections after Hitler purged the SA during the Night of the Long Knives in 1934. The SA lost most of its power to the SA. A lot the SA did not disband until the war ended in 1945. The SS was also known as the Stormtroopers, and their brown shirts for the color of their uniform. Officially found in 1921, the SA grew out of the Freikorps group in the Germany at the end of World War One. The SA was a critical component of Hitler's rise to power and volunteering counter more the former members. The 1934 SA purge, known as the Night of the Long Knives, effectively ended the SA political and military power. This is another example of the SA. Let's talk about of Kristallnacht. On November 9, 1938, Nazi leadership unleashed a series of pogroms against the youth population in Germany, and recently incorporated terms this event came to call Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glass, because of the shattered glass that littered the street of the violent and destruction of Jews' honor, business, synagogues, and homes. Nazi officials disguised the other signature to of the programs. They described the actions as justifying blame and supporters report responses of the German population to the assassinations of the German diplomatic official Ernst von Rath in the Paris. This unprecedented violence against the rich Jews generated international outrage. During the program, some 30,000 youth males were rounded up and taken to concentration camps. This was the first time Nazi officials made massive arrests of Jews, especially because they were Jews, without any further causes for arrest. In the aftermath of Kristallnacht, the Nazis reminded ownership the Jewish community to pay 1 billion which March announcement tax and rapidly enacted many anti-Jewish laws and edicts. These are the examples of Kristallnacht. Let's talk about program. The program is a Russian word meaning to wreak havoc, to demolishing violently. Historically, terms refers to violence attack by local non-Jewish population on Jews in the Russian imperium, and in other countries the first such incident to be level up program is believed to be until U.S. returning in Odessa in 19 in, ni- in 1821 as a description term program came into common use with extensive anti-use written that swept the solution and wrestling province of the Russian Empire in 18, 1881 and 1884, following the assassination of Strong Alexander II. In Germany and Eastern Europe during the era of the Holocaust, as the rich new Russian economy, social and political resentment of the youth reforms traditional religion anti-Semitism this served as protection for programs. This is another example of the program. Well, thanks for watching.